going to read from my book, a memoir called Blessed by the Best, because I studied with some of the greatest people in New York, but I also went through the great period from my young years to this age. So I'm reading from chapter 8. My first AA sponsor, the late Joe D., said in Baltimore before he died at age 66, "We will never see gay marriage in our lifetime." Sadly for him, that was true. I was in my 30s, and blessedly I have lived to see the Supreme Court uphold gay marriage. May it always be protected. In the early 1970s, I attended gay AA meetings in Washington. I remember driving over there one Friday night and hearing over the radio that the American Psychological Association had declared that homosexuality was no longer considered a mental illness. Despite this, being gay, born that way, was not fully absolved until 1986, 4 years before I moved to Los Angeles. A lifelong friend, the late Lindsay B., introduced me to sexual practice when we were very young. I had sex with boys in the 7th grade at Annapolis Junior High School. I must have gotten a reputation for one day in industrial arts class. Andy asked one of the hottest guys in school, rubbed his peenie against my hand resting on the corner of a desk. Later, I invited him to my house to spend the night, but he declined. He was merely baiting me. My reputation did not follow me into Annapolis Senior High School. When I was 16, I had a romantic crush on a good-looking Jewish boy, Nathan P. I had read How to Win Friends and Influence People and practiced the principles on Nathan. We enjoyed great sex in local Annapolis creeks and bed. We planned to give up school and go to Florida, taking work in Miami Beach. But Nathan's mother found out, stopped him, and cursed me out over the phone. My aunt asked me if I loved him, and I denied it, and went off to Florida, getting a job as a busboy in the Sheriff Frontenac Hotel dining room in Miami Beach. But unfortunately, the job did not last, and I returned home a sadder but wiser boy after a week. Later, we moved away from 57 Cornhill Street off State Circle, Annapolis, which produced my happiest year in high school. My best friend was Edward T., the very handsome, straight vice president of the student council. His girlfriend, Frances R., was a class elite, as was Ed. He and his cute brother, Jimmy, father and mother, lived in a ranch house north of Annapolis. I spent the night there once with Ed, but nothing happened sexually. Ed would take me to the Annapolis Country Club to play golf, and one summer evening to the club for swimming. We both had a lot to drink, and I insisted that Ed spend the night with me. I made a sexual advance to him. The next day, we both pretended as if nothing had happened. I saw very little of Ed after that, except at Christmas when we both came home from college. One of the highlights of that senior year was a trip to New York City with Ed. His father, William, had procured third-row seats to the then-current Broadway hit bus stop. And we headed up the theater aisle at the show's end. William enthusiastically greeted us and took us on a spree throughout Manhattan. First, we visited the Stork Club for drinks, then the Monkey Bar. Tennessee Williams, a friend of William N. Chopin bus stop, lived in the hotel above the Monkey Bar in later years and died there with drugs found on a nearby table. Both were gay friends. In the wee hours, we ended the evening at Lindy's Restaurant and Delicatessen on Broadway, a purveyor of the world's best cheesecake to my taste. William later died of alcoholism on Maryland's Eastern Shore. Thus, Ed was an adult child of an alcoholic, and my first para-alcoholic obsession with an adult child. In college, there were two loves. One reciprocated, the other not. First, I fell hard for the very handsome Joe R. I wrote a full-page article with many pictures of him in the school paper. It landed him a plum job as a disc jockey on a late-night jazz radio station. replacing a superstar announcer who married one of Florida's top celebrities and one of America's most vitriolic and ultimately hated, Anita Bryant. I obsessed with Joe while dating Sandy M until it all exploded later. Joe was, of course, an adult child of an alcoholic whose father came down to visit Joe at the University of Miami, where we were all in the radio, TV, film department, now called communications. The last radio drama I wrote was about a fellow college student with whom I fell in love, Adam S., and did have sex and an intermittent relationship. It was a bittersweet night when I gave Adam my University of Miami sweatshirt. We said our goodbyes as he headed for Omaha. I remained in Miami searching for work during a scorching, rainy summer. From what I read in later years, Adam became a right-winger in Germany, much to my surprise and dismay. Reporters wrote that the FBI had employed Adam while still an editor on the Miami Hurricane in college. Adam taught me much about feature writing. Years later, I had an obsession in Baltimore, AA, with a fellow member my age, John H., who was a horse trainer in rural Baltimore County. He surprised and shocked me one Saturday night after an AA meeting when he described his classical training to become a concert pianist. We listened to Brahms' second piano concerto in his home, and I always swooned. John was straight and in love with the first female career jockey in Maryland's racing community, but that didn't quell my desire. I called it love, but it was an obsession. Of course, John was a recovering alcoholic and his brother was a practicing alcoholic. AA knows that the way to sobriety for many, or even most, is spiritual. As for me, I stay connected to my 12-step programs and my two Episcopal churches, All Saints Beverly Hills, and my anchor for more than 25 years, the gay-friendly All Saints Pasadena. Thanks be to God for 52 years of sobriety at this writing, and thanks to you all for listening.
David Kearse.